been learning for like six years now. Not actively all these years. I started January of 2018. I have done some things that I wish I would have done different. So here's 10 of them that I could think of. They're not particularly in any order, so I'm just going to start with the first one, which is not having a goal. If you don't have a goal, then you're going to stop eventually, I feel like, because when I started out of pure interest. And if you think about it, people get interested in random things. For example, recently I've been into airplanes and aviation, and I've been watching videos on YouTube, and it's just a random thing that interests me. And the same thing goes for languages. Now, I can totally understand that you would become interested in Japanese all of a sudden, but I feel like if you're just interested, then maybe you'll learn a couple of things and look up a few things, but after that it'll just wear off and you won't be interested anymore, and then you'll just quit. Now for me, someone who started 6 years ago, who is still learning today, actually, like I literally just finished my my kanji reviews for today, so I'm still going, which is really difficult if you don't have a goal or motivation, and you really need something to remind you the reason that you are learning, which in my case, one day I want to be able to understand anything that I hear, just being able to understand the language just like I understand English. And when I think about that, I get so motivated, and then I start learning again. So now the mistake that I made is that I did not have this goal up until a certain point. Like only after maybe 2 or 3 years did I really think about it. What do I want from this, instead of just learning because why not? And the reason that I kept learning even for 1 or 2 years is because I found YouTube videos that were really fun. So I just kept going because I liked the videos and I liked the person who made the videos. And only after that time I really thought about my goal and what I wanted to do. So the second thing is something about the basics, which is the alphabet, and especially katakana, which is one of the kana that you have to learn. I didn't really have a proper way to learn the alphabet, like hiragana and katakana. I just kind of looked them up, and sometimes I could read them and sometimes I couldn't, and then I would have to look them up again. For example, there's sa and chi that I used to mix up because they look like each other. One looks like a 5 and one looks like the opposite of it. And the way I remembered it is by, if you look at chi, it looks like a C on the bottom, and if you look at sa, it's like a 5. So that's how I remembered them. So anyway, there's a few katakana that I just kind of skipped over, and I was like, you know what, whatever, I'll just ignore them, like the ones that look similar. Again, for some reason I don't have any troubles with the shi, tsu, and what's the other one? So in katakana, but the ma and mu I always mess up, and I feel like if I had just found a mnemonic or way to remember them, or just really studied them well enough, then it will be way easier now, because when I encounter a word in katakana, then sometimes I really have to think about it. Am I reading this right? And that just costs me a few seconds. Now next up is comparing myself, and this is mainly because of the internet. There's a lot of people who are learning Japanese. You can find them anywhere. Sometimes you see these posts where people are asking a question and they're asking about a word, or a word that consists of infrequent kanji, like kanji that are really rare. And sometimes I find myself comparing myself to those people, because I would think, wow, these people are learning these kanji that are so hard and so difficult, and I don't even know these basic kanji or the most common kanji. You have to really focus on the things that you need. For example, if I'm playing a video game or I'm watching a series and I'm looking at the subtitles, then obviously I need to be able to read those subtitles and those kanji. And those random kanji that someone else is learning, like I don't even need to know them. So I don't know why I'm stressing about it, but I really find that I sometimes compare myself to these people, and I think it's a really bad habit. Just focus on your own environment, your own context, and learn the stuff that you need. Now the next thing is not going to Japan sooner. So the reason I put this one in is because I recently came back from a trip to Japan. I went there for 10 days. It was so different from here. It's such an, like, I'm really open-minded and I really love seeing other things, and it is such a cool experience. And I think, especially when you're learning Japanese, going to Japan is a great way to motivate yourself. But the thing is, when I was only 2 years into studying, what I thought is, you know what, I'll just go to Japan when I get better, and whatever, I'll just learn first as much as possible so that I can use the Japanese once I get there. After going, I realized that there are still so many things that I didn't know, so it didn't really matter. Like, I could have gone from day one or day two of studying, because that would just motivate me more, and it was just about the experience. So if you have the chance, just go. Don't learn first or whatever, just go, because it's fun and not something, it's not worth waiting for. Now, something else that is not really worth waiting for, or that you can start pretty early on, is kanji. Some people say that you have to wait until you get like at a certain level, but I think you should learn as soon as possible, like as soon as you know at least katakana and hiragana and know a few words or some grammar. Just like reading, you do it every day, you see them everywhere. Like when I went to Japan, kanji was everywhere, so you have to be able to read them. So I think it's better if you just start sooner rather than later. Now, as for how to learn kanji, I think I have another video about that, but it's the same thing as going to Japan. Why wait? There's no reason to wait. There's no reason to wait. You can start learning today. Maybe you don't have to learn a lot, just learn some words, learn the words in their kanji. You'll see repeating kanji, and this way you will unconsciously learn a few kanji. Coming back from Japan, I didn't do my kanji reviews, and there were so many kanji that I didn't know anymore, so you really have to focus on them every single day. Now, something else that I also really didn't focus on is speaking. Because me personally, first of all, I'm quite introverted. I don't speak a lot naturally, but also I find understanding so interesting. When I'm watching a video, when I'm talking to somebody else, I am mainly just listening, trying to understand, because I just enjoy that a lot more. It's not that I don't like speaking, but generally I do listen more. I find listening more interesting. I don't even have a lot of speaking experience. The thing is that if I want to become good at speaking, which I do want to be able to speak. I guess the level of speaking that I want to reach is the same as my English right now. So I want to be able to just speak without thinking too much. Yeah, be able to do that as well with Japanese. So in order to reach that level, I have to practice speaking. Like, I can't just get better at speaking naturally. So I'm planning to practice speaking with Japanese people, but I should have done this way before, because sure, it is easier after you have a certain basic understanding of the language in terms of grammar and vocabulary. But I think if your goal is to speak, then you can start speaking as soon as you want. Now, something else that I should have done sooner as well is immersing. My god, immersing is so powerful. Like, when I'm watching something, I can just feel myself fully understand, and it's just so amazing when you feel like that. I'm trying to watch some series without subtitles in English, so only Japanese subtitles. It is just so amazing when you finally understand something. The way I learned, and what most people do, is just finding something in your own language to learn about the other language, from your language to the other language. But with immersing, it's the opposite, and it's the more natural approach. Like, when you're a kid, you don't learn like that. You just live your life, and you just get exposed to the language, and that's the way you learn. And immersing is kind of just imitating that, and it's so powerful. So I should have done that earlier as well, and I'm trying to do it now more as well. Now, a while back, I got introduced to this whole idea of comprehensible input, Stephen Krashen, and all of that, which is so interesting to read. So you should read that as well. But yeah, I think immersing is kind of, I wouldn't say underrated, but I feel like most people, when they first starting to learn language, they don't consider that at all, or they don't know about it. Now, something else that I struggle with, which is kind of similar to the comparing myself, is that thinking I can learn faster. So after these years, 6 years now, there have been so many times where I thought, I should be able to know this. I've learned for such a long time, I should know this by now. And then sometimes I would skip over things because I felt like I knew them, whereas in reality I didn't know them as well. And the result of that is that if you don't know something, then you'll understand less, and then you'll get frustrated, and at the same time that means that your progress is declining. And especially in like this middle phase where I'm at now, kind of similar to what I said before, is that when I compare myself with other people, some people have spent 2 or 3 years learning the language, and here I am learning for 6 years already, and maybe not knowing as much, and so I start to doubt myself, or I start comparing myself again. It's a really easy way to get into your head and to just lose motivation, and it sucks. The main thing is just forget the concept of time. Just don't think about time at all. Just do your thing, do what you like, and just continue doing that. Don't worry about the amount of time that you've already spent, because doesn't add anything. It just adds stress to your learning journey, and I hate it. So I've just completely forgotten about the concept of time, and I'm just doing my thing. And that's something that people really should do too, because most people nowadays want to learn as fast as possible, or how much can I learn in 30 days or in 1 month or 2 months, and it kind of bothers me when I see things like that, because it it doesn't matter. It really does matter. And then the last thing that I stressed about too is the grammar. I stressed a lot about grammar because I really love grammar. Like I said, I love understanding people and understanding things. So I sometimes end up learning about the language, like the grammatical concepts of like subject and topic and the particles and all those things, intransitive verbs and transitive verbs and the tenses. And I think this is really fascinating, but you don't need to stress too much about it because eventually you'll just get used to it anyway. Like if you hear things a couple of times, if you hear certain tenses over and over again, you can just start to feel when something is right or something is wrong. There's this endless discussion about the wa versus ga particle. Of course, I struggled too with that, and I still do, but it doesn't really matter. It's not worth stressing about because if you learn for long enough, then you'll just comes naturally. That's it. Like the grammar, it comes naturally. Just don't worry about it. Stressing about grammar is something that is not natural. Like when you learn your own language, you don't stress about your grammar. You don't even know the rules of the grammar of your own language probably. What I do nowadays is just when I see something, a grammar that I don't know, I would look it up and make sure that I understand it. I try to understand it. If I don't, then it's totally fine. But at least when I encounter something that uses the grammar, I know what it is and I have the context of that sentence. So maybe I understand it then, or maybe not. If not, then that's totally fine. I'll just skip over it and eventually it'll click, but don't stress about it too much. Look it up once and then just move on with something else. So yeah, those are basically the things that I wish I had done differently. Not really. I don't regret any of what I have done now, but I guess you could see it as advice that I would give you. So hopefully it's useful to you. Let me know and I'll see you another time. Bye bye.